very warm welcome to everyone to the wonderful world of words by me, Mrs. Morrison, and I'm very excited that you can join me with our online lessons from Edinburgh in Scotland, and you can join us exploring the English language. If you are one of my ex-students from Dubai, then I say Sabal Khair, and to any ex-students that are watching this from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, I say Selamat Pagi. So what I hope to do is I want to be able to share us all being kept safe at home and to give you some activities and some challenges to help you in this time of homeschooling with your reading, with your writing, to expand your vocabulary, to really make you think. And if you're a secondary student, this should really help you with some of the complex words that you encounter in your studies, particularly in science and maths and technology, but actually it really helps in all subject areas. So each week during the homeschooling, I'll give you some activities, and each activity has a slightly easier one and then one that is more challenging, and then you just have to choose the one that you would like to try, and then feed me back with what your findings are. So let's get started. So the first activity in round one is that we're going to have a look at some word webs, and the first one is a word web that is based around this base word here, hand. So obviously it has to do with the meaning of your hand at the end of your arm. So you have to take that word and you have to form other words from that, but all related to that original meaning of your hand. So to that you can add prefixes which are fixed on at the beginning of a word, or you can add suffixes which are fixed on at the end of the word to build larger, more complex words. So I have just got started here with a few. So I thought of a prefix, the prefix un, to make unhand, and I could have developed that a little bit more. I also was thinking about children handing out papers, handing out books in class, so I added ing to make handing and ad to make in the past they handed out the papers. I also added ful to make handful, and I could have gone on with a few more for there, making it plural. And compound words, I immediately thought of handbag, obviously a bag that you hold in your hand. So that's a compound word, two base words that have come together. They won't each have their own meaning, but when they come together, they have some shared meaning that is a combination of both of these. So handbag, and then you can also have handbags. There are lots more, probably about 20, maybe even more, with that base word hand. So if you want to try that one, it's a little bit easier than the one I'm going to talk about now, but it probably is quite good just to have a try at both of them if you have the time. The second one, a little bit more challenging, is the base element. It's not actually a word itself, it's a base element, and it becomes a word when you add prefixes before or you add suffixes at the end. So here's a few that I have already thought about. I forgot to say to you that tract comes from Latin trahere, which means to drag something, so draw or drag or pull something, so that's where the meaning of the base element comes from. So you can start experimenting and adding different prefixes and suffixes and see how many words you can create. I immediately thought of distract. So if you are distracted, then your attention is pulled away from something that you're trying to focus on. So hopefully in this lesson you're not being distracted and pulled away from what I'm teaching. So distracts and distraction, you could also have distracted, distracting. That probably is quite a nice rich stem that you could continue. Obviously as well, tractor comes from that, and you can make that plural. And I also thought about the word traction, and then realised if you've ever been unlucky enough to have a fracture and you have to be put into traction, it's the way of pulling the bones together to heal. And now that I've mentioned the word fracture, I'm now thinking, what's the connection between fracture and fraction, and meaning broken and breaking into parts maybe? That's another one that we can look up later. So that's the first round one of your challenges. I would say probably use your brain to think of these ones. Don't look anything up to find them. It's much more exciting that way. And don't let your parents take over. You have a go first, and then perhaps they can set you off in some of the stems that maybe you haven't already thought of. But the challenge is, how many can you create? And if you want to pause the video now and get started with that, then carry on. Round two is, you maybe heard me mentioning in the previous challenge about handbag being a compound word. Well, I've written some words here, and the compound words are made up of a base word and another base word coming together. But pure, real compound words have the meaning of both of these in the resulting word. So be careful, because sometimes I have even seen written down, even by teachers who should know better, saying that some of these words are compound words when actually they're really not. So I want you to have a look at them and see which ones of these that I've written here are true compound words, the meaning is still retained when they come together, and which ones are fake compounds. They may look like compounds, but they're not. So can you work that out and sort these into the correct ones and the fake ones? Next little part of the challenge is the sun shines in the window here in Edinburgh. I'm thinking of compound words with sun. So I've already said sunshine, it's the shining of the sun. That's a compound word. So how many other compound words can you make with sun? I think I found about 8. There's probably more. So have a little try at that one. If you want more of a challenge with compound words, is creating a compound word chain. So this is much harder than it looks, and I really struggled to even create this one. I started lots of them and they didn't take me anywhere, but this one worked out quite well. So I've written it here to give you the idea. So I started with moonlight, which created lighthouse, and then from the house, houseboat, and then boat yard, and then I took the yard for yardstick, and then created stick pin. I'm not that sure that's actually a real word, but I have allowed myself to use it. I probably need to look that one up. And that led me to pinhead, headlock, and one that we're hearing a lot at the moment, unfortunately, is lockdown. I probably could have gone on a bit more. I'm now thinking about downstairs and whether I could have continued that a bit longer. But that was, let's see if you can create one a little bit longer. How many words can you put together to make a really good compound word chain? So if you are pausing here, pause the video and have a little try at compound words, which is round 2 of our challenges. Round 3 is more of an investigation and turning you into word detectives. And this time you are allowed to look these up. Probably good to have a little think about them first and then have a little bit of research to see what you can find. So the first thing is the days of the week, and I want you to go and investigate or try and work out first. There are some days that are named after the solar system or parts of the solar system. So have a little think. I'll give you a clue. There are 3 of them. and the rest are named after ancient gods. See what you can find out about the days of the week, and have a little think as well about other languages, and if there are any other languages that you know or your parents know, then have a little think about whether their days of the week also link similarly. A little bit more challenging is I've created a bit of a nonsensical sentence here, but there's a reason why I've put all of these words in red, and it's because they all fall into the same category. And I'm not going to give you too many clues about it, but you'll have to have a little think and then look these ones up. So the sentence is, I put diesel in my car, put on a cardigan and Wellington boots, grabbed a sandwich and a Caesar salad. So what do these words in red have in common, and what's the category called that they all fall into? And maybe you'll be interested in finding out others that fall into that same category. So finally, to finish off, I wanted to give you a couple of just fun etymologies, histories of words to have a little look at and see if you can work out where these come from. So the word goodbye, where does that come from? And a little bit of a funny one and a little bit rude, where does gymnasium come from originally? So I hope you've enjoyed the first session. I'll do a follow-up video on Friday where I can discuss all of the findings that you have discovered, and also talk you through the findings and the ideas that I've got. So if you can send any of the words that you found, things that interested you, things that surprised you, how many did you actually find, then if you can send them to me at my email, which is diy.words@gmail.com. And I look forward to making a response video on Friday and putting out some more of these challenges for you over the next few weeks. All right, take care and speak soon.